Okay, at this time, I'd like to call the Cromwell Board of Education meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Welcome, everyone. Alessandra, would you please take roll call?
Mrs. Cromwell? Here. Mrs. Cloutier?
Absent.
Mrs. Franklin? Here. Mrs. Kelleher?
Here.
Mrs. Lamberson? Here. Mrs. Post? Here. Mrs. Russ?
Here.
Mr. Human?
Absent.
Mr. Sobrowski?
Absent.
What? Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, next is approval of the agenda, additions, deletions, and review of the agenda highlights. It's a pretty short agenda tonight, as you can see. However, I did notice that there were a couple of links missing on, oh, yes, I just told. Okay. So we're deleting items D, which is the stipend approvals, and E, which is the HR personal activity report. We'll just have to go over those at the next meeting.
Can you just repeat that for me?
Yes, item D, which is the stipend approval. It was an action item. Can that be done at the next meeting, or is it urgent?
It's not.
I know we can't do it tonight, but do
No.
we need to
Do
do it before the next meeting? Okay. And then item E, which is the HR activity report that we usually receive.
Oh, because you're saying the link for the attached.
Right, and it's also not in the printed packet.
Okay.
So with those, is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Motion?
Catherine, is there a second?
Second.
I heard Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The agenda is approved. Correspondence. I did share with you all a correspondence from Ms. Fortenbach that was distributed to the entire board. Other than that, I don't have any other correspondence except for some marketing material that was sent to me about school security. I'll hand that to you in case you want to share that with
Yeah, and I have it.
IT. Okay.
Yeah, we all, I think you guys all got it. Yeah. I think
Oh, everyone received it.
yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to give it to you because I knew it was that. But
Thank you. Okay, public comments. Are there any public comments tonight? Doesn't look like there will be. Reports of liaisons from Town Council, Board of Finance. I do not see anyone here. So we'll move on to the superintendent's updates in response to Board of Ed comments and action items from the prior meeting. Dr. Macri.
just quickly, we are looking at the numbers, the COVID numbers. We have to. We don't know where any of this is going to go. We're hoping that it just becomes like the flu, but this next, now they're saying that because I still get on the calls, the variant is the
More transmissible.
right, more transmissible, and it's not, and the booster isn't necessarily taking care of it. We have to get to a point where this is my own opinion, I'm speaking, that it becomes similar to the flu, but we will have a call with the State Department of Education the first week of August. They're not going to have a call before then, so I'll keep you updated at our next meeting as to what happens. But it is what it is what it is at this point. Like, there's nothing more that I know. It's living, I'm sure we're all living the same way. We are planning the new school year, so we have all of our professional development planned. We have our entire PD calendar and points for fluctuation for the entire school year. August PD is set. Administrators retreat is set. New teacher orientation is all set. We're ready to roll, and it's going to be exciting. And something great that happened was our softball team won the Class S championship, and Al Hamra, who owns custom carpets in Middletown, but he's worked with us a lot in Cromwell over the years. He wants to take the entire softball team out. So on July 27th, we're going to Sicily Pizza. He's paying for the entire team to have lunch with Mr. Morello, the coaches and everything. Yeah, so it's really nice. So he called and he offered. I said, that's awesome, because we were thinking about doing a little something for them, and then he volunteered, and we're like, great. So that's pretty much it. Everything else is just getting prepared for the new school year.
Any questions from the board? None. Okay. Presentations and reports of administration. We have item A, 2021 to 2022 budget update, reference A in your packets. And we'll have Ms. Burke come on up if there are any questions.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to apologize for putting the wrong date on the top of the report and not noticing it. So my summary as of June 30th, 2022. I did a little copy and paste. Apologize, but these are numbers that I was working on last week. Right now, we're to the good by just under $2,000. I have received several invoices and things have kind of shifted a little, but I'm still thinking we're going to end up in a very little surplus. And we will go to the town Board of Finance at a fall meeting and ask if we can put that into our non-recurring capital account for future expenditures. So I think we'll be close on that number. We could be a little higher, we could be a little lower, but we made it to the end of the year in a positive status, so that's always great news. We had a lot of things, a lot of challenges this year, and everybody worked really hard to try to manage all the changes that we had to work through. So I appreciate everyone's help with that throughout the year.
So at the last meeting, we had talked about the air conditioning issue and that it wasn't in these numbers, and it continues to not be because we're waiting on parts. Do we pay for it then when they come in? Or how does that come into play for Woodside?
For WIS, that's new money. We'll be
That's
using new money.
22,
Okay.
23.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
so I know that there's so many things that we're waiting for parts so we can get some service things done. Supply chain shortage.
And tell me if I'm wrong. I believe we knew about it before July 21. We encumbered, but then we have to close the encumbrance and reissue because the parts aren't coming in for 15 weeks.
That's correct.
Okay.
So the way it works with the cutoff, with the ending of a new year and the beginning of the next, if you are ordering something, an item, and you get the order in by June 30th, it can remain open and be after that. But if it's for a service and the service isn't actually performed by June 30th, we do have to close those POs and they have to be moved into the new year. So that does happen sometimes, especially when you're coming into the end of the year and something breaks. You kind of try to rush the vendor through and try to get them in so that we can pay for it with the current year money. But it doesn't always work out that way. So sometimes we have to shift things into the new year and open a new PO and use the new money.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Old business, we have none. New business, we have item A, the Cromwell High School culinary kitchen project update, which should be brief, right?
Very brief. I let Andrew go. I figured I would do it. We are right on schedule, and being on schedule is that we will be finished and completed by the end of September. So we can't start with 1, 2, 3, go, but in talking to Andrew today, he feels like they're moving a little quicker, but I'm afraid to say anything because I don't know if anything won't come in. So we're still shooting for the end of September. We had to just shift some things around for summer school. It's working out really well, and everything is going well. So hopefully we'll have everything is set and ready to go, I hope, by mid-September, but it'll be great.
Sure.
Is that stopping our course, like our class registration for the culinary classes?
No, we registered as if it was going to be open, and so we have something that we'll do kind of what we were doing last year for the first couple weeks. It's not ideal, no, for the first couple weeks, and then the kids will go into.
What does that look like for the first couple weeks?
Andrew's not here right now. They had, I don't know if Carrie knows exactly, Dr. McLean, do you remember what they were they used a program, not necessarily only foods for family and consumer science throughout the year. There was an actual program that they used, that they followed a curriculum, but I don't remember what it was. And I think we actually bought it, so I think it's ours. I think we own it, so they'll just use that for a while. It's not ideal. It's technology based, and
I thought they were able to do some hands-on things, though.
they could do
from what I
little
heard.
things in the classroom.
Yeah.
They can't cook. So, actually, though, I think sometimes they actually were able to work with the cafeteria and get some stuff cooked, but very little.
Yeah.
Very little.
Well, hopefully it's completed when we think it's going to be.
Yeah, I hope so.
Sarah might know the answer to this. Where they are now, my understanding was they kind of moved into part of Mrs. Leahy's room. Is that right? If they move back into the, correct me if I'm wrong, if they move back into the slot they're supposed to, would that mean she'd get her full room back? Yeah.
Yes. The hope is that she gets her. So right now, it's just for the summer work because of the noise and everything else.
Yeah,
The
I know.
bulk of that, yeah, I had
Yeah.
them look at that. But I think it'll all be back to normal no matter what by
Oh.
then. Because it was more noise related. And I just didn't want there to be
Oh, so are we thinking that the noise will be gone
yeah,
by
yeah.
school start? Yeah. Okay,
So I
okay.
just wanted to be 100% sure.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, next we have the Cromwell Middle School project update, and our chairwoman, Rosanna Glynn, is not here tonight, but she did send me a summary. And she states, after the successful referendum authorizing the funding to move forward with the new Cromwell Middle School, Cromwell's grant request was submitted to the Connecticut Office of School Construction Grants Review through the Department of Administrative Services on June 28th. As you all know that part. The short list that is presented to the Connecticut State Legislature will be posted in December. And I had to ask what the short list was, but that just means like when they've weeded through them and chosen a few. The committee will soon finalize the request for qualifications/proposals to secure the architect and owner's rep for the next phase of the project. The committee anticipates these firms will be under contract with the town by early September. The committee will then move to the selection process for the construction manager and the commissioning agent. And that's what I have from Rosanna. I'd take questions, but I probably won't know the answers. Are there any questions I can relay to her, though? And she can get back to us? No? Okay. Moving right along. Approval of minutes and motions from our June 14th special meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Dipti, is there a second? Jen, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? No one was absent from that meeting? I feel like, were you not here?
No, I was here.
Okay. All right, minutes are approved. We will skip item D and E, and we'll move on to the principal reports. Item F, they're informational. Does anyone have any questions on those? Okay, we'll move on to policies. We have A through F, first reads. Are there any questions on any of those policies? Or if you want, we can go through them individually, if you'd like. Does anyone want to go through them individually? Right, okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve A through F?
It's a first
Isn't
read.
it first read?
Oh, sorry. You're right. We'll move it to the second read then at our next meeting.
Can I ask
Sure.
one question? Sorry. The gifts, grants, and bequests to the district, how do they determine like the amount that the teachers will get or
Good
allowed
question.
per year?
So basically, I called Shipman and Goodwin because ours was so low, and I asked, what is the range of an acceptable gift? And we talked it through. Most districts do between 50 and 100. We were at 15, so I said, let's go to 50. That's I hope parents are not spending more than $50 on a gift, and I don't want people to feel like they have to either. So we put it at 50. That's where most districts are. That was a conversation with council because I was like, ours it was so outdated, and $15. We know that people are most likely, you can't even buy 2 cups of coffee with $15 anymore. So changed it to 50 and left it there.
I remember that conversation in the past.
Yeah.
I was never happy with the $15
No.
limit.
I actually wish it was higher than 50.
And I was trying, I don't want people to feel, and I don't want the teachers to feel badly because teachers were afraid to accept something, but I don't want parents to feel badly who can't afford, so. The bottom line is it's $50 a parent, and if you get together as a class, it becomes a really nice gift. So that's what we just came up with, and we thought it was reasonable.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we have a policy committee report from tonight's meeting? Does anyone want to share anything from tonight's meeting? No pressure.
No, I don't think so. I think our next one's going to be in August, as long as we have quorum. And Enza said she has quite a few more mandated policies in the pipeline that we're going to have to look at soon, but nothing in particular to mention.
Okay, and thank you all for coming an hour early to that meeting tonight on this beautiful summer day. Facilities and technology, we have not met in a long time, and we did just talk about the air conditioning. I wanted to mention that I also emailed you about the field committee. So that's a committee for the Cromwell High School football field / track, hopefully development of something there to replace what's happening at Pearson. And that's run through the town council. And they have put together a few people on their end. And then we have some volunteers. We have Matt offered to be on it, as well as Kelly Franklin and Catherine Russ. And then we have one from district, hopefully, that I think we're waiting to hear back on. So, yeah. So we have that going on, and I don't know when that will start, but soon. But I did hear that there is talk about renting portables for if we need them this fall for playoffs at Pearson in the meantime. And those 3 people will be approved at the town council meeting tomorrow night, just like we did for the building committee. You don't have to be there, though. And then we don't have another date yet for our next facilities and technology committee. I think we're kind of waiting on a couple of things. We have Tommy out and want to see where this field committee goes, but we will definitely set one hopefully before the end of the summer.
I'm just asking, because Kelly was out of the country. Do I need to have that form for her tomorrow? And do I need to get it to
I'm
them?
sure it's fine.
Okay.
I'm just following the protocol,
Yeah, I
but
wanna make sure,
we can
'cause
get it in. I'm sure they would.
I'll go to
I'm
her
sure they
house.
would want the athletic
She's
director
got
to
all
be
the-
on that committee.
Okay.
So
All right, so I won't go.
no.
Okay.
Nope. All right, I think that's all for facilities and technology. Topics for future agendas? Anything?
I'm sorry, Sari has one that she would like to bring.
Okay. Do you want to come to the podium?
I have met at the last meeting to possibly bring in that therapeutic program to the high school. So I met with him twice, and then today we met as a team with Ramsey and Andrew, and he would like to present to you guys on September 13th.
Great.
I'm excited.
So that you met with them, and did they come in and they were going to do a review to see if we were even a candidate for the program, right?
We basically gave them our needs, and
Mhm.
they definitely think that they could meet our needs.
Okay.
But the process right now is kind of just learning about what they can bring to us. So they've given us a lot of information and, PowerPoints and cost analysis and all that. And then the next step would be just for you guys to get an overview of what it would look like. No decisions have to be made, but he would be available on the 13th to present to you guys.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Jared, yep. That's
Jerry who?
Jared.
Oh, Jared?
He's
yeah,
from
Jared
okay.
DeClancy, yeah.
And it's really, we have students who definitely will benefit from this program. I was pretty impressed with the expenses. I feel like the price
I
may
was
have
too.
gone a little bit down because there's more of a need in the area, so we're sharing resources, perhaps. But we want to make sure that it's something that you want to bring into our schools. I don't see anything but positive coming out of it, but I just want to remind everyone that it's costly, but it's coming at a perfect time because we're going to be putting our budget together. But it is costly, and we definitely have enough of students that could definitely benefit from the program at the high school.
When you say program at the high school, that's where it'll be held, or it will only be for high school students?
It'll only be held for high school students, and it'll be held here.
Okay.
Those students are currently not in the high school.
They're coming in our here.
Yeah,
and
there's-
some are not. Yeah.
There's a few that we think we could bring back, which then that would be like a wash for the cost piece, which we'll talk about. But then there's students here that have needs that we're not even meeting, those needs because we don't have the resources. Or there's students that we don't even know have the needs that they could help us find that have those needs. So I think there's so many students that we could touch
I
that we're
think
not.
when we give the DESA, we're going to
Yeah.
find a lot more kids that have been falling through the cracks. It's hard right now for kids, for everybody, mental health. They have the skills and the knowledge to really help us with kids with anxiety, depression, school avoidance, suicide, unfortunately, ideation. And like Sari said, if we could just bring 2 to 3 kids back, it might be a wash. But in the beginning, it may not be. But in the future, I definitely think it will be.
Oh, yeah.
So are these strictly students that are on IEPs or no, not necessarily?
Not necessarily.
Okay. And what about, just thinking ahead, if there was a student you had in mind, or say you're thinking of students that were possible candidates to come back, how would that work? Would the families, if the families didn't want to bring them back, like how would you handle that? Like,
Yeah, that's a conversation, but even today, Jared had mentioned to us if we need him to help get families on board, I mean, that's what they do. They
That's
meet
what
with
they do.
families, they do presentation to the community, so the community, like the larger community
Right.
can learn about the program. So the more I think people hear about it, the more they'll be interested in having their students come back, if that's,
Right.
the case.
yeah, I was just thinking.
And it's
I mean,
not
I'm
for
sure
every
you've
student.
thought about that
Yeah.
too.
Not
Yeah.
every student would be a candidate to come back, right?
Right.
It's really to meet those specific needs that they can tailor. But, yeah, he definitely said, sometimes there are going to be parents, I'm sure, that'll push back. But it's really working with them, and maybe it's not overnight, like Dr. McAree said, it may be a few years, but
Right.
in the end, eventually, the hope is to get, more than not the students back, yeah.
So the best, and I get chills when I think about it, plug for the program itself, were the kids who came and spoke to the Board of Education, who participated in this program, and it was optional for them, right? Kids with anxiety, school avoidance. I get chills when I think about it. Who came and spoke to the board and said, "I'm coming to school. I feel like I'm part of it. I have that support system." I don't know if Carrie remembers. It just takes your breath away to hear it from the kids themselves, and then they talk to other kids about it too, because unfortunately, sadly enough, is kids who are school avoidant, and they do tend to stick together, and then they help each other. We had about, at that time, I want to say at least 4 kids come and speak of how it affected their lives and changed their lives. Oh no, they came to the Board of Education meeting. I when it was in Middletown, when I was in another town, because they used the program there. That was the flagship program, the very first time, 10 years ago maybe, and then kids 2 to 3 years later came and spoke to the board on behalf of thanking the town for allocating that money and what it did for them and how it changed their lives. It's pretty neat.
All right, thank you, Sari. So we'll look forward to that on September 13th. Any other topics for future agendas? All right, comments, updates, and announcements from board members and administrators. I'll start with Jen. Nothing? Lori? Do you have anything? Enza, do you want to add anything? No. Catherine? Dipti? Kelly? Nothing. I'll add one thing, and I'm not sure even if this is the appropriate time to do it, but I wanted to make you all aware, if you weren't already, that there's a charter revision committee in town, and they've been going through on changing the charter, making some changes to the charter. It'll obviously have to be voted on, but there was one item that did affect or will affect our board, and it had to do with our budget. And basically, and I'm sure you've all seen it on Facebook, but I can send it to you if you haven't. I was trying to get it pulled up on my phone, but the Wi-Fi is not so great right now. I'm on the guest, though. That's probably why. But basically, what it boils down to is once we go to the Board of Finance and they either approve or, adjust our budget, the change would be that it would then get another read at the town council meeting. And from there, they could opt to reduce it by 1%, which is, as you know, a huge percent of our 4% budget, and would mean staffing cuts.
Not kidding.
So,
Think about, I just want it, it is a lot of work, as you all know, and we've worked very hard. We've always worked very hard. We worked very hard with the Board of Finance this year. But that would mean we'd have to go to the Board of Finance. We would have to think about that process. It would be ridiculous to go to the Board of Finance and then go to the town council for, we get asked, and I understand it's a lot of money, but lots of questions. And to have to do that twice and have people, it's a huge, to think that we would go to the Board of Finance and then they would say, this is allocated for you, and then have to go to town council and then have them cut us 1%, up to 1%. That's a lot of money in a town like us to be cut. That could be the whole ESS program. That could be 3 to 5
Couldn't
teachers.
that be teachers and staff
could
that
be
we would
3 to
have
5
to eliminate as a result of the cut?
I think you all know, I don't go in asking for the world. Like, I ask for what our kids need, and we do our best to get, look, we ended this year with $1,888. And when I say we are constantly looking at every penny we have, we are constantly looking at every penny we have and adjusting. We are there, like it's raining, like it's pouring, and we don't have anywhere else to go. I know people think we do, but we don't, and feel it is. We have to accept the responsibility for inflation as well as a school system, and we really, if we had to cut that $300,000 this year, Ann and we were ready to ruin our entire April vacation. Ann and I were ready to sit, and it would have ruined our whole, because we would have had to figure out how we were going to do this with all of our administrators, because there's nowhere to go. And people have a lot, and I get it, people will say, well, we're going into teacher negotiations, and teacher negotiation, there is a teacher shortage. There is mental health staff shortage, nursing shortage. People are not going into education. And right now, we're at the end of a cycle of when teachers negotiate. So a lot of teachers and a lot of districts have gotten a pretty decent increase in their salaries. And we have lost a couple. We're not bleeding, thank goodness. But we have lost a couple to districts where they are making between $25,000 and $30,000 more. So that's a reality for us. We're going into negotiations with our biggest union, and we cannot afford to be cut arbitrarily without understanding what. And I feel that the Board of Finance at this point does really understand the process, because we've done so much we did a lot of work this year to help everyone understand the process when we were cut last year and how detrimental it was, and you see it.
Full disclosure, the Board of Finance did a lot of work with us to help understand.
They did a ton.
We've been trying to build that relationship, not that
Wonderful.
we think poorly of the town council. We
No,
absolutely
no,
don't.
but it's a lot
But
of
it's just a lot
time.
of, it's a lot of work.
And
Yeah.
understand. The town council is not, of course, they need to be concerned with finances and everything else, but they have so many other responsibilities. So working with the Board of Finance over the past couple of years, and then in the beginning of this year, quite extensively, was great. And then even meeting, so for example, meeting with the Board of Finance, John Ireland, to just explain what negotiations are, and because they have to be part of teacher negotiations, a member from the Board of Finance. So he wants to be able to explain that to the Board of Finance. What does their participation look like? Because it's a big chunk of money. So we've gotten somewhere, and it's been good. So, and I think it's about understanding, right? It's not about anything else but just having a common understanding. And if the town makes a decision, but they understand the implications, then it's okay. But I just want to make sure people understand these are the serious implications of this. Could be 3 to 5 teachers. Where else can we cut? Because we already know our buildings are in poor shape, and we don't even have any money in our capital improvement plan. I laugh, but it's scary when we see Tommy walking in the door, Ann and I jump because there's always an issue. So I don't know.
Jen, you had a question?
Is it are we abnormal in that we just go to Board of Finance? Is it typical of other towns that they go through Board of Finance
I think
and
there's
town council?
supposed
or
to
is-
be like a double check, what do you call it, checks and balance. So I don't know for sure, but I feel like usually it's Board of Finance is the end of the line, from what I've seen when I've read articles about budgets being approved. But
And
do
I
you know
have
differently?
I only have experience, getting this far, obviously, with one other town. It's very different. There is a financial, a Board of Finance that oversees all of the money, but the Board of Finance is a committee made up of town council members. So they're the same people. So they're bringing the information back to the town council. It's not completely separate people. It's enmeshed. So if you have a common council of 9 people, 5 were on that Board of Finance committee. So they're now bringing back that information, and then they all vote together. But you're only doing one, we're doing mini presentations. They're called workshops to the Board of Finance. They bring that information back, and then the Common Council voted with 5 people who were on both things. So that's my only experience. I'm not sure how other towns do it.
Lori?
Is this charter revision something the town's voting on?
Yes. So they had a public forum a few weeks ago, which I wasn't aware of until the day before. I think maybe one person attended, and that's where they went over all of the changes. I'm told they'll be itemized. So this will be one item amongst, I think there were 7,
Yeah,
about
I think
7. So it's not just a yes or no vote. It's you vote individually on all the separate items that they're changing. And it'll be in the fall when elections are held. That's when everyone can vote on it.
So, Lori, every 5 years, our town charter is up for revision, and they have the town charter committee that looks to make the changes and everything. Not sure where all their guidance comes from, but if you go onto the town website, you can see the charter revision committee's meeting minutes and notes and everything else and what's on future agendas. So it's a pretty informative read-through, so that might kind of get some up to speed if you want to see exactly what's going on.
But I had expressed some concern to the chairperson and was told it's already pretty much being sent to legal. So it's moving forward. So I don't think we can change it as far as I know at this point. Of course, you can express your opinions as well to them. But I don't know what will happen from here. It might just be that it goes out for a vote and we'll see what happens. But not really sure what else to say about it. It kind of snuck up on me.
Were they doing it with the town budget too, or just
No.
Board of Ed?
That was unclear. I read it as just Board of Ed. But it wasn't completely clear. So good. And also, can they do 1% of a cut and also 1% increase? That wasn't clear. I saw it only as a cut. But I'll send it to all of you afterwards, too.
And I think it's important for everyone to just remember, historically, this is the first time that the Board of Education has ever received, when we look in the long line of history, what you asked for.
Mm-hmm. So this could be a reaction to that. Also, I think charter revision did not pass last time either, but that was probably because it was an all or nothing vote. Just FYI. All right. Any other questions or comments about that? Sorry to bring that up at this time, but I don't really see any other place, and I think it's important that we all know. All right, and now we'll move on to the executive session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's evaluation and self-assessment. And we're proposing that to be held in executive session, which we'll invite Dr. Macri into. Is there a motion? Jen, second by Lori. All in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Go into